Good afternoon, investigators. Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with week number 245 of Australian investigation news, Spy Curious. It's the Friday afternoon program where we bring you all the news of what's been happening in the investigation industry throughout Australia each week on Friday. So great to see you people. Thanks for checking in, and let's get straight into it. So happening this week at the Australian Security Academy, first, we've got big news on what's happening over on LinkedIn. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, a professional LinkedIn profile, and you should, okay, because they're really important things to have, you can now link your qualifications from the Australian Security Academy in your profile to the Australian Security Academy's LinkedIn page. What does that mean? It means you get the extra credibility of holding the nationally recognised qualification, and if someone's looking at your profile to employ you or whatever, they can click on that and it's fully backed by a 24-year-old registered training organisation delivering 19 professional, nationally recognised qualifications throughout Australia. So that's happening on LinkedIn. I'll play the video in a minute. G'day, Xavier. How you going, buddy? Great to see you. Thanks for checking in. Hi, Amber. Merry Christmas down in Canberra to you. I hope you get some time off. Jack, thanks for checking in, mate. Good to hear from you. Great to see you licensed in Tasmania now. So let's have a look. He's Joy. G'day, Joy. Right on time with that. So let's have a look at linking your LinkedIn profile to the Australian Security Academy LinkedIn page and how you do it. So in order to do it, you go to your profile and scroll down to your basically where you keep your qualifications. And there it is under education. The arrow's pointing to it. It's on my profile. And you type in the Australian Security Academy and your qualification, and it links straight back to the Australian Security Academy professional page. So it confirms that you hold that qualification and where you hold it from. So jump in there and, take advantage of this, people. If you're on LinkedIn, g'day, Nathan. Good to see you, mate. Great to see you. Merry Christmas. I got it. Merry Christmas to you too, Amber. I hope you have a great time down in beautiful Canberra. So anyway, take advantage of that and link your academic achievements with your nationally recognised qualifications straight back to your LinkedIn profile. Thank you very much, Maddie Moore. We hope you and Dougie have a great Christmas, mate. I'm sure you will. Thanks for checking in. Maddie sent us a update today on what's happening down in Victoria. It's been a real fun week down in Victoria. So Maddie sent us this in today. Nick and a private dick duel down in Victoria. What's that all about? So let's have a look at it. This week, a private investigator in Victoria had to serve a document on a member of the horse racing industry. Now, every single licensed private investigator that serves documents in their filing cabinet right now waiting to be served has 6 or 7 people from the racing industry that they've got to serve documents on. That is not uncommon, and basically it's an industry staple. It works out well for them, it works out well for us. So horse racing identities get themselves into arguments and disagreements, and they end up in court, and process servers deliver the summons to the people. Now, sometimes it gets particularly difficult. The people might live like I do in a gated community and you can't get in there to do it. Or they might have high security building and they come out of a locked garage and it's very hard to do. So you've got to actually follow them and wait till they stop and then serve them the document then. So this is what happened this week down in Melbourne. So it evolved on Wednesday. So basically, this jockey, all 53 kilograms of him, lashed out after getting served. Now, not a lot of people wet their pants when they're served a document. It's most people, they've been waiting for it. They've got it, and now it's get on with it. That's what they look at. That's what the professionals do. You don't start being a dick about it anyway. So what he's done, he's got some form in the past where he's called the chief racing steward a few choice names, and he's threatened his family and all this sort of thing. So the guy's, he's just a little bit fractious. And he's called the private investigator a shit kicker a week before Christmas. So I put in a Christmas one with something of kicking it, and that's what he's called the private investigator. Now, what he's also done, once the private investigator has served him when he was parked, he's then followed the private investigator at a set of traffic lights like you do. He, in his upset and angered state, he got out of his car, approached the private investigator's locked vehicle, and knocked on the door and demanded that the private investigator get out. Now, the private investigator wasn't going to do that, so the window was broken, allegedly, and all sorts of stuff went on. So what happens when someone makes a threat against what's technically a bailiff of the court delivering a summons? Well, a lot can happen, actually. And if it's serious enough, more than 36.7% of them end up in a correctional facility as a result of what they've done. Now, you've got to have pretty good evidence of that actually happening. And, you know, despite the fact that the guy weighs 53 kilos and he's 5 foot tall, the way he aggressively walked at the licensed private investigator was enough to say, well, hang on, there could be some aggression here. So, so in these cases, the prosecution doesn't have to identify words. It could also be actions. So let's have a look at what his actions and some of his words were on Wednesday in the street in Melbourne.
Hi, Daniel. Daniel, you've been served. No. No. Well then, this is all being videoed. This is all being videoed. All being videoed. Okay, check it.
Well, it's highly likely if that private investigator makes a complaint to the police, that it could be taken further. And look, he's not unfamiliar with the court system and he's not unfamiliar with threatening people. Okay, so it happens. But if you're going to do it to a private investigator, they've got cameras on you. Those lines that you see, they are basically the heater in the rear vision window of the vehicle that the investigator was driving. So that's what it is. You always know when surveillance footage is real, when you see those clouds and the power lines and all that sort of stuff at the beginning before it focuses in on what's happening. Because that's how it really goes. It's uncensored, unedited, and that's the real world of surveillance investigators. Yeah, that's have them, my word, always have them. So 99% of the people you serve a document to go, all right, I'll get on with my life now. Good, we've got a court date. But this guy, he's quick on the trigger and he's actually taken action to follow the investigator who was only doing his job. Now, he's been notified he's got to go to court. And if he doesn't go because he's too angry, the magistrate can then issue a warrant for his arrest. And in Victoria, they don't use private investigators or police to do that. The sheriff will go around and do that for them. And then you've got another bailiff of the court coming down. So that's really interesting that's happened this week. I've been called some great things when I've served documents on people. But I've never been called a shit kicker, which I thought was pretty good. So that's happened down in Victoria this week. We're watching episode number 245 of Spry Curious. Also this week, people, some big announcement. Our Moodle learning system is being upgraded as we speak today. It'll be available tonight or tomorrow morning to continue study. It's just a big upgrade that we're doing. And I've got really good news from the Australian Security Academy alumni. Now, this is absolutely amazing. Absolutely brilliant effort to be Charles Taylor and APLA's Chartered Loss Adjuster of the Year and an Australian Security Academy graduate as well. What an absolutely great piece of news. And if Casey was here, I'd give Scott some balloons for that to annoy her. So Scott gets some absolutely great achievement balloons. Well done, Scott. That's great news, mate. Job vacancies, people. Just because it's 3 days before Christmas and my voice is running out, it doesn't mean there are no jobs. There are lots of job vacancies all around Australia quite currently, and the circumstance investigators are wanted by safeguarding services. They're looking for you. Surveillance program specialist in Victoria. They're wanting to pay up to $3,000 a week just for you to go and do surveillance for the Environmental Protection Agency. Allied Universal are looking for investigators all around Australia. So get in touch with them. They want you to work for them. Yeah, well done, Scott. Well, yeah, Joy, well done, Scott Tritton. It was really absolutely fantastic piece of news that was. So hot off the press, a couple of jobs that you might want to look at. Regional security specialist for Tesla. So those of you that studied security risk management, security risk analysis with the Australian Security Academy, get on our jobs page and have a look at the benefits in this job. You get extra $10 a day for riding your bike to work. You get all sorts of leave for all sorts of amazing things. And they want you to be their regional security specialist in Australia for Tesla. Regional inspector is wanted for RSPCA in Queensland. And if you're an RSPCA inspector in Queensland, you'll be studying Certificate 4 and Diploma with the Australian Security Academy. It's a very busy time of the year for the RSPCA around Christmas and just after. Down in Victoria, police officer, Senior Sergeant Paul Cliff is facing corruption charges, as noted in the Herald Sun this week. He accessed a police database to look at who was doing surveillance related to search warrants. So, look, distinguished career, getting towards the end of it. The problem with policing is you never really leave it, even when you leave, because your past can catch up with you. And he's probably done nothing more than a whole lot of crooks in the police have done in the past. He's done less, but he's paying a high price for it now. If he is found guilty, he's got to be found guilty. It's only an allegation at this stage, so who knows where that's going to go. Merry Christmas, Tony, down in Adelaide, mate. I hope it's a great week. Yeah, it's a shame. Look, it happens. You know, it can happen at any stage of a career. A worthwhile person makes one mistake. That's just how it goes. And the reason behind it, he'll explain that in court. We'll all know that one day when that comes out. So really, really big news around New South Wales this week is they're outsourcing murder in New South Wales from criminal gangs. Now, what they're doing is they're coming on Fiverr and hiring people to go and take a stolen motor vehicle and park it in the street, so the getaway drivers know where that's going to be. The police following the bad guys don't see the people that are hired because they're hired on WhatsApp or something like that. And they're arranging this through their criminal networks. So the police are right onto it at the Crime Commission, and they're saying, look, we know they're doing it. We know what they've been up to. We know, who's involved. And they've even hired private investigators and security teams to track potential victims. Now, we don't know who those private investigators and security teams are. We've got no idea. But we've been teaching our students for the last 24 years, check out who is hiring you. And if they're paying you $11,000 cash for that job, where did the money come from? What, you're going to sell your license? It's gone. Once they find that you knowingly went along with it, you're gone. And basically, if you know they're up to no good and they are actually killing people and you're a party to it, that's not the best place to be. So same with the bank robber. If you are the getaway driver and the bank robber who goes in and shoots someone because they're armed and you knew they had the gun, you're just as guilty as murder as they are. So that's all happening down in New South Wales. And we've got an Australian Security Academy teacher who's going to be doing a security team driving course in February. So that's quite something to look forward to. This guy's been released after 18 years for threatening to blow up the MCG and the Crown Casino, and I think there was a couple of army bases that he was going to blow up too. So he's now been banned from the Crown Casino and from the MCG. So he's not allowed to go to either of those. And there was a big fuss about deporting him back to wherever he came from when he finished his prison sentence. And it was argued that his human rights would be violated if they deported him. Now, this guy was going to blow up the Crown Casino full of people having a party for their 50th or an engagement or a conference, or going to blow up the grand final. I don't know how you blow up the grand final. It's a pretty big building, so he was going to do that. His human rights, his personal human rights, 120,000 footy supporters at the grand final with their children. I don't know how you get that level of importance. I mean, really, it is nice to be important, but maybe it's more important to be nice. It's frightening. Yeah, I'll tell you this. It's what keeps us employed, Rhiannon. So, oh dear. I can't understand. If you Google it, you'll see it. It's an amazing world which we investigate in. So the MCG are actually going to ban him inside the Crown Casino, and they're going to be using facial recognition to ensure that he doesn't go in and watch the Bulldogs play the Bulldogs play the Bombers in round 13. He can't get into it because he's banned. So that's happened this week. Now, what else have I got? Got quite a bit actually. $1 million reward for this for the assassins of this guy from 40 years ago in New South Wales was announced this week. It's been sitting there for a while and no one has sort of helped the police or claimed the reward. No, I haven't heard anything about that. No, sorry, I haven't heard that. Anyway, this guy and his security driver were murdered in Sydney 40 years ago. And it was an assassination. And we looked earlier back at the criminal gangs using private investigators to do surveillance on people who were going to be shot by people arguing about tobacco in Sydney. So that's what we were looking at earlier. Okay, so this guy, they never found out who did it. I can't remember where it was from, but you can Google the case and you can see all about it. The thing with it, you read about these gangs and how they execute people with their children in their car or their best friend who's innocent in the car at the children's cricket match in the afternoon practice and stuff like that. That's what they do in Sydney. Professional hitmen don't do that. They don't work in teams. I've actually met a professional hitman. Now, when I first met him, I didn't know he was. I was minding my own business at the Black Prince Hotel in Hobart, which has recently been demolished, and they've built a university housing there for international students. Matthew Hamilton and his brother Arnie were the owners of the Black Prince. And I worked across the road from there, and it wasn't uncommon, very young. And I used to go over there, have a chat with Matthew, who was a lovely bloke, dripping in university degrees. Best barman I've ever seen, didn't drink. Used to take his pet pig for a walk along the beach every night. Eccentric. And that was a beautiful family bar, pub to go and have a nice. I never saw any trouble there in the 3 years I worked there. And one day I was sort of like the first of my little group of people that worked there during the week. And there was an old guy sitting in the corner. And he wasn't dressed quite right. He looked sort of like, 20 years out of date with his dress, and he had a hat, and he looked like a detective from a Victorian police age of 50 years ago, Anyway, we struck up a conversation, and he had a few drinks, and we were talking, and he said that he was a professional hitman. And I said, bullshit, you're not. And he said, yeah, man. I said, what are you doing here? He said, just trying to, have a bit of a holiday. And we got talking, and it sort of started to raise the hairs on the back of my neck a bit, because what he said to me was, he said, when you actually isolate the person, you've got to be really quick, right? Because they could shoot back. And this is instantaneous. But what he said was, they just have this look of acceptance come across their face. They know what's going to happen. And they're gone. That's what he said. Now, I had something on and I left, and my other group of people that usually I was there with each night, they came and they started talking to him too. And I wasn't there. But later on in the evening, around about 10 o'clock, they went up to his room and he showed them his gun. This was before Port Arthur. And it was really weird. So there are hitmen and women, I'm sure, because they'd be under the radar out there that do this sort of thing. Not yahoos and one of these, like we're seeing in Sydney tobacco wars at the moment, but actual real professionals. And they don't get caught. and they operate globally. So it's real. Wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. I didn't see him do anything. I just talked to him in the pub. That's all I know. Matthew Hamilton is deceased. May he rest in peace, great guy. And Black Prince is gone. I know nothing other than that short conversation in the Black Prince Hotel in Hobart a long time ago. Now you're licensed, Jack. Now you're licensed in Victoria. This is what they all do in Tasmania. They get the Tasmanian license and they start working in Tasmania. That's fine. But you can also get your Victorian license, Jack. This is important. Get your Victorian license and you can do online investigations in Victoria. That is something you've got to really consider. So you're going to have two licenses. You can't use your Tasmanian license to investigate in Victoria, but you can triple your workload from your home office in Tasmania by getting a Victorian license. Now, what's the beauty of that? Well, this place, they want to employ you, Jack. They want to employ you tomorrow. So get the process rolling of getting your license. The Seeker Group are seeking circumstance investigators in Victoria. Send your resume to robert@seekergroup.com.au. If you get in touch with Robert, there was his phone number. Go back and replay this video and stop it. Contact Robert. You speak to him today. You'll be starting Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. with the Seeker Group if you're a licensed factual investigator in Victoria. Just spoke to Rob Anderson this afternoon. He wants to hear from you people. If you're a licensed investigator in Victoria, get in touch with Rob, the Seeker Group. Now, that doesn't rule out Allied Universal, because I only spoke to Tats last week and he wants to speak to you if you're an investigator in Victoria. And so does the person in charge of Probe in Victoria, not Probe, ProCare in Victoria. They want to speak to you as well. So there are some opportunities down in Victoria. They're enormous at the moment. If you ever come across a licensed private investigator or a process server, they're only doing their job. It doesn't ruin someone's life to receive a document. All it means is a date has been appointed for that to proceed, get it out of the way, and then get on with your life. You don't go and double your problems like a donkey, overreact with a short fuse, go off your nut. It's either a very, very tall lady or the guy that went off his nut and tried to get the private investigator to come out of his surveillance vehicle. He's a very short person. Well, not. That's a very high risk activity. I wouldn't recommend it. Now, what else have we got? So people, yeah, we're going to be closed. That's off 2 days ago. We're back on Monday, the 8th of January. We will have basically our new Moodle site up and running. So that'll be up and running tonight or tomorrow morning on Saturday morning. You're not going to get behind. You've just watched episode 245 of Spry Curious. How great is it? Just how Sorry, I didn't realise I'd cut out. Thanks for letting me know. I really appreciate that. Yeah, have a Merry Christmas to Joy and everybody else. Thanks for your interaction today. Thanks for your support, people. Thanks for supporting the investigator who had to serve that document to a person who's a little bit of popcorny, a little bit of a short fuse. Okay, so people, we trust you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. My 30 minutes are up. Thank you for your support throughout the year. You've been really wonderful. Enjoyed having you interaction every week. That new website is going to be up and running tomorrow for you to start studying. We've got all sorts of new stuff on it, which is going to help you with your studying and your progress, monitoring your progress of it. You're not going to lose anything that you've done so far. We've got all that. It's just a new, different system, but it works exactly the same. So we have the possibility to do a few new things, and Pat and I are going to be enjoying doing that in the new year. Have a great Christmas, people, for you and your family. Casey and I will be back next week. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy, and that was episode 245.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Thanks, Amber. Thanks, Rhiannon. Thanks, Joy. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Xavier. Thanks, everybody, for your support. We'll see you in the next week. If you don't have a sense of humour about what happened this week, it's going to be terrible. Good on you, Rhiannon. Yeah, have a great time. Thanks, people. See you next week.